Hello, everybody. I'm Hank Joseph. This week, join myself and an expert-lined panel dissect the latest sports news from some of the nation's most elite college programs, from here in Bloomington to the biggest stadiums and stages around the world. With the NFL Draft just a week away, today is the best day to break down the top prospects coming into the NFL and their potential future teams. Stick around because we've got a great show coming up on the Toss Up. Joining us later in the show for mock draft will be IUS TV sports reporter Anthony McClain. For now, let's dive right in with my first three overall picks for the 2022 NFL Draft Toss-Up. Joining me today is Ben Fitzsimons, Ethan Masel, and Brianna Ballog. Guys, thanks for coming on.
Pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Okay, so let's get right into it. Ben, with the number one pick in the 2022 NFL Draft is the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I think it's got to be Aiden Hutchinson. I don't see any other way it goes. I mean, I know there's conversation happening there, all other people, and people are throwing out random names now because they don't have Aiden Hutchinson anymore. They want to be unique, but I'm not going to be unique. I'm going to stick with my Aiden Hutchinson pick. I think he's just massive. I think he's had such a good year at Michigan, and I think having a pass rusher to go alongside the offensive power that Trevor Lawrence will bring to that Jacksonville team as he gets more experience, I think it's just a perfect fit.
Absolutely. Seems like a surefire number one pick. Ethan?
Yeah, I'm also going to go Aiden Hutchinson. There's nothing else really to say. Some people debated, like you said. Evan Neal had a moment there where he was the number one overall pick. It's Aiden Hutchinson. He was really good this year in college, and I think that's going to continue into next year.
Absolutely. Brianna?
I got to go with Aiden Hutchinson. Can you believe that?
Oh, my goodness. That's crazy.
But, I mean, he was the runner-up for the Heisman Trophy. I mean, he kind of exceeded his expectations for this past season, and I got to give it to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Spirit behind that Michigan football team this year. Aiden Hutchinson, we are consensus on the number one overall pick. I'm sure, and I hope Jacksonville is as well. Let's move on to a huge discussion every draft year. Ethan, we'll start with you. Who is going to be the first quarterback taken?
Malik Willis out of Liberty is going to be the first quarterback taken. He was the best runner in this draft class, and he's also the best passer. As you saw during his pro day, he made some just incredible passes that you only see from that top guy. I think he could go as high as 6. I know some people are debating that to Carolina, but I think Malik Willis is the clear-fire number one overall quarterback this year.
Absolutely. Brianna?
I was kind of between him but I'm going to go with Kenny Pickett from Pitt.
Sure.
He took a huge leap his senior season, making career highs in touchdowns, passing yards, and completion percentages. So I think he can go pretty high up too, but I don't know as high as 6. But I'm going to go with him for sure.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's the two guys, right, Ben? What do you think?
I think Kenny Pickett has the opportunity to become the first quarterback taken off the board. But I don't think there's QB going top 10. And I think Kenny Pickett slots perfectly into Carolina's offense and Matt Rule connection. I think that's the chance for a top 10 QB to get picking. Otherwise, I think it's Malik Willis who slides down the board a little bit, maybe finds home in somebody like Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, I'm a Bears fan. I love Mitchell Trubisky, but I don't know if he's the answer there. I think Malik Willis in that system, Mike Tomlin, I think his strong arm throwing to targets all around the field, I think that might be where the first QB gets taken.
Yeah, I think a lot of the talk around Malik Willis is hopefully a team gets him where he can develop a year behind maybe a starting quarterback. Obviously, if he goes to Carolina, I'm sure Matt Rule will want to insert whoever quarterback is there as soon as possible. We kind of just answered this one, but Brianna, I'm going to start with you. How many quarterbacks will be taken in the first round?
I don't know. I might go with no more than 3 or 4. I mean, I don't think this draft is obviously a big in quarterbacks compared to linemen and some wide receivers. So I'm going to go with probably, 3 or 4.
Yeah, I like that. Ben, what do you think?
I think 3 QBs get taken. I think 2 QBs we know for a fact will get taken in the first round, Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis. I think it's up to the debate who that third QB is. There's some talk about Matt Corral, but I've heard them slipping down the draft boards. I think we're going to get a surprise third QB taken late in the first round. I think that's going to be Desmond Ridder out of Cincinnati. I think he had a tough game against Alabama in the college football playoffs, but throughout the season, he shows he has talent. He shows he's a willing runner with a strong arm. I think he will surprise some people by getting picked late in the round, maybe to a team like the Lions at 32, or a little bit higher, but I think he's the third QB game taken.
Okay, Ethan?
I kind of agree. I think 3 quarterbacks will get taken, but I do think the third one will be Matt Corral. I think the Lions at 32, they need upside. They need someone to bring them from the like depths of the garbage NFL team they am to like the heights that Matt Corral can take them to. So I think they're going to be the third team to take a quarterback.
Sure. I am really hoping it's only 2 guys. I think a lot of teams are going to look out for the quarterback class that's coming in next year. Obviously, Bryce Young going to be that prized possession more than likely, but I hope it's only 2 guys just because it's not a quarterback draft, guys.
No.
It's the NFL draft, all right? Let's go to the next question. You mentioned wide receivers, Brianna. Ethan, I'm going to start with you here. How many wide receivers will be taken in the first round, and then who do you think's going first?
Okay, I think that you're going to get 4 receivers taken in the first round. I think Drake London, Jamison Williams, Chris Olave, and Garrett Wilson are all going to be taken at some points in the first round. It's really a toss-up of whoever the team wants that they're going to take first, but I think Drake London has a slight edge. He has a bigger body than everyone else, and he's more of like a 10-touchdown-a-year type guy rather than some of the like speedier receivers in the class.
Yep. Ben, what do you think?
I agree with him on Drake London getting picked first. I think at 6'5", 220, he's the biggest receiver in this draft class. He's massive, and he can be that big body target in the red zone that QBs and teams are looking for. However, I think this is a very strong wide receiver class, and with a weak quarterback class, I think teams turn to the wide receiver position as offensive firepower. I think 6 wide receivers get taken. I think Garrett Wilson has a good chance to push maybe Drake London for that first pick, but I think Drake London will get that.
Brianna?
I'm going to go with probably 5 receivers, and I'm going to go with Garrett Wilson, obviously from Ohio State. He has outstanding body control and ball handling skills, obviously. 70 catches and 12 touchdowns on the season, so I'm gonna go with him, but
I love Garrett Wilson. He reminds me a lot of Terry McLaurin, who didn't have all this shine coming out of college. Drafted, I think, 63rd overall, maybe even in the 3rd round. So Garrett Wilson, obviously, tremendous upside route running. And then nobody mentioned Jahan Dotson out of Penn State. I think he is a surefire first-round draft pick, one of the best route runners in the draft. So wide receivers going to be very exciting. Last question before we go to the break, guys. What team will be in the best position to better themselves through the draft? Obviously, you've got a few teams that have 2 or 3 or 4 even picks in the first round. Ben, I'll start with you. What team's going to be in the better position after draft night?
I got 2 teams. My first team.
No. You get one team. You can't take them all.
Overall.
My first team is the New York Giants. I think sitting at 5-7, I think they get the 2 best players in this draft. I really do. I think Kyle Hamilton's the best player in this draft class by a long shot. I don't know why he's not getting consideration for the number 1 pick. I think he falls to Giants, maybe even the number 7 pick, and I think that's a perfect fit for that team. And I think he's a future NFL Pro Bowler and even Hall of Famer. And I think they also match him up alongside Kayvon Thibodeau. I think they just stack up the defense. And I think Kayvon Thibodeau, he fell off some people's watch list for the number 1 and number 2 overall pick just because he didn't have the season everyone was hoping for. He was injured in and out of the lineup. But I mean, he has just all the raw talent and size you need to be a powerful edge rusher in this league, so I think those 2.
And we'll see if Thibodeau falls down to the 5 spot. Ethan, I'll go to you. Which team?
I like the Giants. I think they're a good pick there, but I think the Jaguars are obviously going to take a step forward. Last year was like a whole mess. The Jaguars are not in a good place.
Can't get worse, can it?
Yeah, they have back-to-back first overall picks, and I think with that, they're going to take a step forward to trying to get back to where they were a couple years ago, that elite defense.
Yep.
I think that step forward comes here.
Okay. And Brianna, who do you think?
I'm going to go with the Jets. They have high picks in the 1st and 2nd round, and they already have the quarterback, so it's just a matter of boosting up their line and getting more weapons with this draft being so deep in linemen and wide receivers as well. So I think that would really benefit the Jets for sure.
Okay, I am going to go with the hometown team, the Falcons. Again, like we talked about with the Jaguars, no Matt Ryan. Now, you pretty much can't get worse than what's happened in the offseason. You lose your franchise quarterback, and then Calvin Ridley's scandal, obviously. So you really can't get that much worse. And we'll see. The Falcons could mess around and get their franchise quarterback if he falls or if they end up trading up, which I don't think they will. But we will see. Anyways, God, pray for the Falcons, everybody. Coming up after the break, Anthony McClain is in studio to break down each team's first-round draft picks. And then after, we will make some quick-fire predictions on who will make the most of their later picks next week. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Now we will send it over to our own Anthony McClain for his full first-round mock draft. Anthony?
Thanks, Hank. Let's get into this mysterious first-round draft, shall we? And see what we got here is a big guy, little guy draft. There's going to be a lot of linemen, corners, and wide receivers taken in this first round. Let's get right into it. Number 1, I got Aiden Hutchinson. Pretty much the consensus pick at number 1. And then I got Trayvon Walker, which I think is going to be a surprise for everyone. I got the Lions swinging at him. He's been jumping up in draft boards due to his physicality. Then I got Houston Texans tackle Evan Neal from Alabama. I think he's going to be a really good addition for that much-needed offensive line that is a little bit shaky in the areas, especially on the outside edges. And then we got the New York Jets, and then I got Kayvon Thibodeau going. He's been falling in some of the draft boards just due to maybe just character problems and issues and things like that. But I don't think people are going to buy into the hype. I got him at least going top 5. And then at my number 5 pick, we got Derek Stingley Jr. coming out of LSU. Derek Stingley Jr. is arguably one of the best secondary players to come out in the recent 5 years. He's definitely going to go top 5 in my opinion. Then in the Carolina Panthers, we got Kyle Hamilton. New York Giants, we got Charles Cross. Atlanta Falcons, we got Malik Willis. Malik Willis is going to be one of those quarterbacks that may be a little bit overhyped just due to how lacking the talent is, but the talent is still there, and if he gets the right coaches, he could definitely develop. Then we got linebacker Nakobe Dean, and then we got Ahmad Gardner going to the New York Jets. Then we got Garrett Wilson teaming up with Scary Terry back from Ohio State to the Washington Commanders. We got the Minnesota Vikings taking cornerback Trent McDuffie, and then we got the Houston Texans taking Drake London down here from USC. Then we got Zion Johnson going to the Baltimore Ravens. We got Devin Lloyd going to the Philadelphia Eagles. And then we got Chris Olave all the way down here going to the New Orleans Saints. Then we got the Los Angeles Chargers taking Akeem Ekwonu. Then we got Lewis Cine from Georgia going to the New Orleans Saints. And then we got Jaquan Brisker from Penn State going to the Philadelphia Eagles. And then we got Pittsburgh Steelers getting Devontae Wyatt out of Georgia, even before Jordan Davis. Don't worry, I'll get to him in a minute. Then we got the New England Patriots taking a swing at George Karlaftis. He's been falling on a lot of draft boards, but I definitely think he's going to be a steal. Then we got the Green Bay Packers taking Treylon Burks from Arkansas. And then we got Bernard Raymond going to the Arizona Cardinals to bolster that offensive line. Then we got Jordan Davis finally going to the Dallas Cowboys. And then we got Daxton Hill going to the Bills. We got Sky Moore going to the Titans. We got Khair Elam going to Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then we got Jalen Petrie going to the Green Bay Packers. And then finally, we got the Kansas City Chiefs taking Jahan Dotson. And then back-to-back picks taking David Ojabo. For the last 2 picks, we got Trevor Penning going to the Bengals, bolster up that offensive line they've already been working on in free agency. And then finally, I got the best center in the draft, Tyler Lindenbaum, going to the Detroit Lions. That's all for me. Thank you for being with me for my draft. Now back to you, Hank.
Thanks, Anthony. Now it's time to make some later round predictions. Guys, are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
And girl, of course, Brianna. What second to third round prospects, will be steals in this draft?
As much as I hate to do this, I think George Karlaftis out of Purdue. I mean, he was talking about being number 1 pick like early last year, and now I think he's just fallen off teams' draft boards. I think he could be a steal in the early second round, but a later second, maybe third round pick is John Mechie out of Alabama. I think Jamison Wilson stole the show late in the year for this Alabama team, and I think John Mechie, people forget how good of a receiver he was all the way up throughout the playoffs, and I think even though he is coming off a torn ACL, I think he can really be a benefit, a great wide receiver for one of these teams.
Yeah, Mechie in that 2021 NCAA championship run was pretty huge for Alabama.
Right.
Ethan, we'll go to you. What prospects do you see as steals?
I like the ones you chose. I think you could go with a Sky Moore, but he's not who I'm going to go with either. I'm going to go with David Ajabo, who was talked about during the season as like a top 15, top 20 prospect before he tore his Achilles during his pro day. I think with the technology and like you've seen players like Kevin Durant tore his Achilles and now he's like way better.
Yeah.
I think with stuff like that, you could take Ajabo comfortably in the second round and get a top 15 prospect.
Absolutely. Brianna?
I'm going to go with Sky Moore or David Bell from Purdue.
There you go.
I think that Moore is really great running and with the ball in his hands. And then I also think Bell, he's really good at running those deep routes and kind of like going underneath the routes as well. So I don't know. I like both of those picks.
Yeah, David Bell, as long as he can avoid the injuries, I think that's the only thing that NFL teams are concerned about. I will go, again, I'll stay in the state of Georgia. I'm going to go with James Cook, younger brother of Dalvin Cook. Really didn't get to show how elusive and impressive he was because Zamir White was the starting running back for Georgia last year. But James Cook can do it all. He can catch. He can play in the slot. He can block. Well, a little bit. But
a little bit.
But of course, that's what you work on in the NFL. But I think James Cook is just so lethal, doing it all for Georgia last season. Brianna, I'm going to start with you. Who's the most underrated prospect in this draft class?
I'm going to go with Breece Hall from Iowa State. I don't know. I really like him as a player, and I feel like he could definitely – I think he is kind of underrated. I don't know.
No, he is. And
I kind of feel like he fits that so well, especially for being a running back.
Yeah, running backs are looked over. He gets it in the end zone, too, more than any other running back, in this draft.
Yep.
Ethan, I'll go to you, and then we'll work back to Ben.
I think the answer to this question is Javon Walker, who's been talked about going anywhere from 2 to like 32nd. No one knows where he's going. He's an athletic freak. His production in college didn't match like his athletic profile. Yeah. And I think that's making teams like way more confused than they should be. I think wherever he goes, he's going to be a stud. Javon Walker's my answer.
Okay, Ben?
I'll give you my pick in a second, but I have to talk about the Breece Hall pick. I don't think there's a good running back in this draft class. I think a running back going
Not a
first,
single one.
No. I mean, I'll give you James Cook. He's underrated. Maybe
that's okay. I'll take that. Thank you.
I think maybe a top 2 running back, but I think there should not be a running back taken in the first round, maybe even the first round and a half. I just think they're that weak of a class this year. But I'll give you my most underrated player. I think it's Nakobe Dean, the linebacker out of Georgia. Yep. I know everyone's hating on him because he's 5'11" and very tiny. And you need to have the length to make tackles in the NFL. But I think he's just so smart. We saw how the Georgia defense was so efficient and so good with him at the helm calling plays. And I think if he can have that spot in an NFL team, whatever system he will find himself in, I think he will be a very good pick if he gets picked.
Yeah, I don't think anybody gets, sideline to sideline better than Nakobe Dean. And I'll stay with the Georgia theme because there's so many guys on that defense that were so good. Devontae Wyatt, he was, always kind of looked at as the Robin to Jordan Davis's Batman. But everybody really saw him in the college football playoff when Jordan Davis was getting run off the field because he couldn't keep up. Devontae Wyatt was holding down the fort for them. I think Devontae Wyatt is, without a doubt, one of the best D linemen in this class this year. And I think it would be just an absolute sham if he fell out anywhere of the first 35, 40 picks. Is there any late round QB? We talked about the guys that are going in the first round. We talked about the class isn't that great. Is there any late round QB, Ethan, that you see succeeding?
He's not super late round, but Desmond Ridder is the most pro-ready quarterback in this class. And I think if he goes somewhere like the Steelers or the Saints, maybe round 2, round 3, I think he could be a day 1 starter and lead them to maybe a playoff berth.
Okay, Brianna?
I'm going to go with Bailey. I might butcher his last name, Zapp.
Zapp, you got it.
Zapp, okay. I think that in the later seasons down the road for a team, he could be a great developmental guy for a coach. And I think he ran a really good, strong offense, I thought. So I think he would be one for sure.
Yeah, Indiana knows Bailey Zapp all too well. Almost
Yeah.
beat them. What was that, week 3? And Mike White, obviously for the Jets, Western Kentucky quarterback. And, you know, you sit down for a while, coming off that air raid offense, you certainly throw the ball. Ben, what do you think?
I have to give Brianna credit. I think that made up for Brees Hall running back.
There you go.
Thank
Made
Nice.
up. There you go. No, I think Matt Corral's the best quarterback in this draft. I know he might not be a late round pick, but I think he will fall out of the first round, maybe mid-second to early second round time frame for when he'll get picked. But I think his lightning quick release, and I think he's a willing runner. He's coming off an injury, but everyone says he looks healthy. He looked healthy at his pro day. He doesn't have as strong of frame as like some of these top quarterbacks in Malik Rose, but he can make the throws. And I think he's just the most pro-ready quarterback, and I think it'll show.
Sure. I will go with Carson Strong, just a guy who has all the intangibles to do it. He's become kind of a hot name recently because he is a guy that can air it out and get it down the field. 4,200 passing yards last year and 156 QBR. So I think I would take that. Obviously, it doesn't always translate to the NFL, but let's move on to the defensive side of the ball. We've already talked about them a lot. What defensive players would be good to take in the later rounds? Obviously, big defensive line, big cornerback group. Ethan, we'll start with you.
I'm going to go with the cornerback, Roger McCreary out of Auburn. I think he's a really good cornerback, one of the highest graded corners in all of college football this year. He's kind of short. He would be one of the shortest starting cornerbacks in the NFL, but I think his speed makes up for that. He led the entire nation in pass breakups this year. I think Roger McCreary is that guy.
Sure, Ben.
I'll go with another cornerback. I think Marcus Jones out of Houston. He's a little undersized for that position, just like Ethan's player, but I think he just holds his own well. He's a press coverage corner, so he'll get up in his receivers, and I think that kind of helps make up for his size. And he's very, very gifted at just reading the QB. He had a couple of interceptions, 2 interception games last year, and I think he will be a player that surprises some people.
Okay, Brianna, what defensive player?
I'm going to go with DJ Davidson from Arizona State. I think he forces a running game, and then he's so quick and really good at blocking attempts. And I think he is who I'm going to go with too.
Okay, I am going to go with the homegrown Hoosier, Micah McFadden.
Okay.
You know, we talked about him a little bit before.
I
It'll
like that.
probably be 3rd or 4th round. I would say
Yeah.
maybe even a little bit later. But obviously undersized middle linebacker, but has the intangibles, has the leadership qualities, and, I mean, can flat out tackle, and he's got a nose for the football. So I'll go with Micah McFadden. Pretty similar to Indiana football. Any mid-major talents to look out for, guys? Yeah, you got to make a couple jokes here and there. Ben, I'll start with you. Any mid-major talents to look out for?
Yeah, I talked about how Drake London was my number 1 receiver off the board because of his 6'5", 220 frame. And I think another guy who just fits that a little bit, but he doesn't have all the stats, but he has that frame, is Christian Watson out of North Dakota State. 6'5", 200 pounds. I think he'll be perfect. I saw in some mock drafts him going to the Packers late. I think that would be a perfect ad, especially after losing Devontae Adams. Almost a big body guy that Aaron Rodgers can finally throw to, besides a couple of bums they pick off the street. So I'll go with him.
Did you just disrespect Devontae Adams in this room with
no.
all the Bears fans around you?
No. I said Devontae Adams was good, but he left, so now he just has bums.
Sure.
to throw to.
Okay. Well,
I'll defend him. He's got Alan Lazard now.
yeah, he'll be okay.
So
He'll
good,
be fine.
so good.
He'll be fine. Brianna, I'll go to you.
Okay, I kind of hate to say it, but I'm going to go with George Karlaftis from Purdue. Even though he could be a little bit inconsistent, I still think he has great strength. And I feel like with the inconsistency part, that kind of is why I'm going to put him in like the mid-range.
Yeah, and like Ben mentioned, he's certainly fallen off since the beginning of the season. Ethan, what about you?
I'm going to go with Trey McBride from Colorado State. Easily the best tight end in the country this year. I think that alone makes him probably like a 2nd, 3rd round pick. He'll be a great fit for any team looking for a tight end. He's kind of like a Dallas Goedert from the Eagles build. I think he's a great receiver and an even better blocker.
And I will take any offensive lineman from any rural college in the country. You look at places like, Wyoming, Northern Iowa, you got Preller from Northern Iowa. Just any big guy from a smaller school, they just get fed like big boys. So I will go with those guys. Thank you three for joining me so much. That does it for the show this week. Guys, be sure to continue the discussion and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at IUSTV Sports. With that, there's one thing left to do, so toss it up, find out if we'll catch it, and we'll see you next week.